Hey everybody. I am just getting the Facebook feed set up, so it's just going to take me a minute. So just let us know in the chat where you are joining us from. And I will be just a moment getting this all set up. Cape Cod. The only one left. Is it Esme? Am I saying your name right? Hi, Catherine. I'm just setting up the Facebook feed, so just let us know where you are joining us from in the chat. Trying to let people in, get the Facebook feed. I've got a lot of moving pieces here. Okay. Almost there. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here and joining me. Got Texas. Scroll back up. Minnesota, Massachusetts, North Carolina. Yay, a few people from Cape Cod. All right, welcome everybody. If you're just getting here, let us know where you're joining us from. I'm just getting the Facebook feed working. So for the people who are joining from Facebook, and it looks like it is up and working. So if you are on Facebook, say hi in the comments so I know you're there. There is a little bit of juggling for me because I'm gonna try and keep an eye on the comments in Zoom, the comments in Facebook, and show you the presentation. So bear with me while I flip back and forth, but I've done it a couple times and I'm getting better at it. Hi, Bonnie from New Jersey on Facebook. So that means you guys can see me on Facebook. Wonderful. And yeah, you can be in either place on Zoom or Facebook. I'm just kind of getting myself organized here so I can see all of the comments. And we will get started in one moment. Hi from Oregon, East Hampton, Massachusetts, Pelham, Massachusetts. We have lots of, do you say it Massachusettsans? I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Lots from today. All right. Then when I share my screen, you guys will have to let me know if I'm seeing it, if you're seeing it correctly. All right, I'm gonna go ahead because I think everything is working. I'm working on two screens, so just give me a second here. So I find my presentation. All right, maybe I can do all of these things. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. And what I don't know is whether or not you're gonna see my speaker notes or the actual presentation. So let me know as soon as I do that. There we go. All right. Do you guys see the actual slide that says working with sacred places in nature, or do you see my speaker notes? Now I gotta find my chat. Speaker notes. Ah, okay. Well then, I'm going to get out of presenter mode so that I can see both my notes and the presentation, maybe. No. Sorry, you guys are seeing all the behind the scenes today. Hang in there, one more minute. All right, you'll just get to see my notes and the chat, so hopefully that will work. I'm trying to keep everything going. All right. Whew. Thank you for joining. Hey, everybody on Facebook. I see all your comments too. You're seeing my notes. It looks like I can't see how to see my notes and the presentation and show you the presentation slides. So you're just going to kind of see both. You'll see my Google slides. I'm sure that will work. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me here today and letting us know where you're all joining from. I have everybody muted at the moment, so just keep yourself muted during the training itself, but at the end there's going to be time for Q&A. So feel free to use the chat. I'll have some questions for you as we go along, but we'll get to questions at the end of everything. So wherever you're at, just take just a moment. We'll take a moment to kind of settle in here and drop in together. If you have an oil you like to use, I thought gratitude was a good one for this weekend, and you can do that. Okay, just close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Just relaxing into the energy, into the space where you are. Sending a grounding cord down into the earth to connect your energy. And then pulling that energy from the core of the earth all the way back up into your body. Taking one more deep breath in and out. Just asking that your helping spirits and guides come join you during our time together. And asking that the energy of the sacred places that you're thinking about working with, or who have been calling you to come join you as well, or to just feel into the energy of those spaces. And feeling into the energy of everyone who's gathered here live and who will be joining us when they watch the recording. And just sharing your thanks and gratitude for everybody who's doing this work in the world, and working with these places and the energies and the spirits. One more deep breath in and out. And coming back to this space and opening your eyes. All right, I'm gonna make sure there isn't anybody else waiting to get in here. There are a few. Okay. All right, well, welcome to Earth's invitation, working with sacred places in nature. Again, I'm so glad that you're all here. I could feel the energy building in about the half an hour or so before we all gathered, and all of these spaces that have been prompting or prodding you or encouraging you to come and work with them. And let's get started. Let's just dive in here. So really, as I'm sure you've noticed, if you go for a walk anywhere in nature, you will find people everywhere who are completely disengaged from their surroundings. And I'm sure we all do it too sometimes. We're just off for a quick walk and we're not really engaged or paying attention. But oftentimes you'll see people, you know, they're wearing their headphones, they're having loud conversations as they're walking with their friends, and they're just moving so fast that they miss what's happening right in front of them. So, you know, when we're children, most of us haven't grown up in a culture or any kind of tradition that teaches us how to come into natural relationship with the world that's all around us. And so we enjoy nature, we love nature, we have places that we enjoy visiting, but usually only for recreational purposes. So if we're encouraged to explore when we're children, it's usually focused more on, you know, science type things, you know, exploring insects or rocks or, you know, things that we might find in our physical surroundings, but not usually to really feel into the feelings or the sensations that we're getting or messages that might be coming through when we're in that place. So I'm guessing that you can probably relate that you have been pulled to explore a place in nature on a deeper level, but you're not quite sure how to kind of uncover the magic that's there. So you have maybe had magical, unusual, unexplained experiences in these places. I know I sure did before I kind of put the pieces together on, you know, how to explore them. So I just want to help other people understand how to find these places, approach and explore them in your own backyard. You don't have to travel, which is wonderful right now, and then really explore them in a respectful way so that you can create a deep friendship and unlock the magic that's in these places. So usually what happens is we just have a lack of confidence in our own knowledge and abilities, again, because we just haven't learned how to do this. And so we think we're making up the information that's coming to us. You know, we're just talking to ourselves. We've, you know, have these things coming into our head, and we just don't have a process for engaging with the spirits. And that's really the spot where we get stuck. There's nobody to help us. Oftentimes we're afraid we're going to do something wrong, you know, that, you know, you're maybe sensing what needs to be done or sensing that you're receiving a message, but you're feeling like, what if I make a mistake? What if I don't do something right? What if I'm not hearing the message correctly? And so that's just kind of the spot that we stay in. So I hear from people all the time that when they're out in nature, they're receiving messages or they're hearing and feeling things, but they just don't know what the next step is after you do that. So I have definitely been there. I have had lots of experiences over the years and really just didn't know what to do next. And I did exactly the same thing for many years. So before we get into the details here, I just want you to meet Sharon, who may or may not be on the call. Ooh, let me catch up with people trying to get in here. This darn Zoom waiting room now. So Sharon joined the Earth Tenders Academy early on, kind of in her spiritual journey, and was nervous or wasn't totally sure about if she could trust the intuitive information she was getting. And so, you know, it's interesting because sometimes, you know, you hear about these esoteric topics or you read about them in a book, but you're not sure how to explore it or how to actually do and engage these types of things. And so through the Earth Tenders Academy and some of the other things that I create, I always want to make sure that you're having the experience and you're actually getting to explore the topics that that we're talking about. So our goal for today, what we're going to talk about is the different types of sacred places in nature, how to find a place in your community that you can make friends with, what types of places that you shouldn't visit, how to respectfully explore a sacred place, and then what to expect after you visit. So hopefully you can go out right away today if you want, and find a place, if you don't already have one that you know you want to work with, that you can start working with. So if we are not already acquainted, here I am looking, like I had no idea what was about to happen in 2008. And I lived in California for most of my life. And I started having a series of unusual interactions with hawks, which most of you, since you're here, have probably heard some piece of the story. So I had one tap on my dining room window. I had one fly right in front of me while I was out walking on a trail one day. And then I was in a vet's office in 2008 having a very difficult day with our sick dog at the time. And while I was sitting in the waiting room crying, not knowing kind of what to do next, this woman walked in with a cage and a cover over it. And so I didn't know what it was. And she set it down right next to my feet and said to the person working there, I'm here to drop off the injured hawk. And I was like, oh, like what? Now there's a hawk right here in front of me. What is happening? So it was really kind of, I'd been really kind of on a bit of a spiritual journey up until that point, but really just exploring a little bit. And that was, through these series of experiences was really what opened things up for me and really made me start asking a lot more questions. So fast forward to January of 2014, I left my corporate job, my suburban life, and I moved to Montana with my husband after hearing a message that I should live near pine trees and water. And after moving here is when I started noticing the unusual communication while I was out walking in my neighborhood. So it seemed like the trees were talking to me, but it was kind of like whispers in my ears or thoughts, but I didn't put them there. So that was when I started, putting the pieces together that communication was coming from outside of me. And so as the time went by and I explored that more, I kept receiving the message, your work is with nature, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know what the work was. I couldn't get any further than that. And so at that point, I joined a shamanic healer training program. I learned how to channel with spirit. I learned shamanic healing techniques. And at that point, my guide showed me how to translate that work to the land. And so that was when I started offering property readings, land healing work, and really working in partnership with the spirits of the land. So through my work and experiences doing this, I just have seen how transformational for both humans and spirits this work is. But I would love it if more and more people were doing it. And so really that's why I have created really everything that I've created and shared my journey publicly in this way and created a framework so that others can learn to do this as well. Let me let somebody else in here and have a sip of tea. And Danny also is a student in the Earth Tenders Academy. And, she said after participating, she's been in other classes where she really was told, like, here's how you have to do things exactly this way, even if it didn't feel comfortable or natural to her. And so she really appreciated how really everybody's information comes through for them differently. And you're really, I encourage you to explore what works best for you and just kind of give you a framework to do the exercises and to learn how to do this work. So now let me show you the kind of 3 keys that I've discovered for working with sacred places specifically. And so just as a summary before we jump in. So key number 1 is to plan ahead, to energetically signal your visit in a deeper way to the place that you'll be going and the energies you'll be working with. Key number 2 is how reading the land like a shaman can help you discover hidden clues about a sacred place. And then key number 3 is to experience transformation with a sacred place, even when sometimes it feels like nothing happened. So before we get into those 3 keys, what I want to go over, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but I'm going to give you a link to these descriptions. Let me grab it here so that you have it. You can save it. You can look at it. You can look at it now. You can look at it afterwards, whenever you want. Let me see if I can. This will let me copy. Let me share this in the chat. Oh, will it not let me paste? There we go. And let me put it over here. And this work comes from the research and work from this book called Sacred Places from James A. Swan. And so he's done years and years of work to come up with this if you really want to dive in deeper. And get back to my notes here. But the first thing to know really is that there's knowledge and wisdom stored literally everywhere on the earth. So, you know, just in your tiny patch of lawn in your backyard, you will find spirits and energies. You'll find them underneath, you know, skyscrapers in the biggest city. So, you know, once you kind of scrape back that kind of human layer on top of the earth, you'll find energies really everywhere. So depending on where it is or how much those energies have worked with humans over the years, they may need a little more encouragement. They may take some more time to you know, come out and chat with you. But you don't have to, you know, go to another country or another part of the world just to experience a sacred place. So it's unlikely you will know exactly kind of what energies are inherent in a place before you visit, unless it's something that's been preserved in that way and you're, you know, clear about what it is, or it's a particular, you know, natural feature like a, you know, hot spring or something like that's probably going to be clear to you what you're working with. But everywhere has, you know, inherent qualities that the people who came before us were aware of and we're already connecting with. And different places have different qualities. So they could have physical, mental, or spiritual properties. And, you know, those things are still present in some way today. So let me go through these descriptions really quickly for you. So first of all, graves, cemeteries, and burial grounds. Those may be marked, but may also not be. So you may or may not know that before you're visiting one. But depending on, you know, depending on where in the world they are or how they were used. So in fact, I think I saw somebody post in the Earthkeepers community the other day about the mound sites that are very common in the Midwest. I think Ohio, maybe Michigan has quite a few. And actually, I think they go all the way down to the Southeast. So many of those are thought to be burial places. So just as an example. Then the second kind is purification places. Again, this could be like a river, a waterfall, the ocean, but it could have been a place ceremonially used for sweat lodges or fasting in the past. Healing sites are just places in nature where the energies are especially strong for healing work. So hot springs might be one of those places with like obvious healing energies. Sacred plant and animal sites. This is where plants and animals are in some way kind of have a different quality. And there may be specific plant or tree medicine that's present or available in the spot, or some potent animal energy to work with. Quarries, again, the Pipestone National Monument in Minnesota is an example of an ancient and sacred quarry. So those may be the types of things, again, that they don't strike you as sacred, but maybe. Astronomical observatories. So those are places created to mark the movement of the stars. So Bighorn Medicine Wheel in Wyoming, Fajada Butte in Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, and then of course Stonehenge. Shrines, temples, and effigies, these could be like ancient earthworks or stones or mounds, or, could be structures depending on where you're at in the world and if they've been preserved. Historical sites are more likely to be marked or preserved or still honored in some way, like a battlefield, a settlement area. And sometimes in those types of places is where you're going to find some more kind of painful energy that could still be stored in the land. Places of spiritual renewal, those are places traditionally used for prayer and ceremony. Could be the site of a tribe's origin stories, but oftentimes it's a mountain or a large body of water. Mythic and legendary sites, these are the types of sites that figure largely into traditional stories, or places where gods or mythical beings reside. Vision questing or dreaming places are places known to open portals in the mind to waking visions and vivid dreams. And so you may find that those may be the kinds of places you go to and you think nothing happened, and then you dream that night and something, very remarkable is happening. Rock art places, petroglyphs carved into stone, very common in the Western US. And oftentimes the power of that particular place was known before the rock art was created. Fertility sites are often associated with special stones, caves, springs, or herbs, and they're sites who were known for assisting in fertility and childbirth. And then sunrise ceremonial sites were natural altars of stone meant for welcoming the first rays of sunshine. So I know I blew through that really fast, but I linked to this document, this Google Doc, if you are really want to read into them further, so you don't have to take notes. But those are, you can tell, just from this description, how vast the kind of description of sacred sites and sacred places are. So let's dive into the 3 keys. So key number 1 is really to make a plan. There's lots of different ways that we're going to talk about where you can find a sacred place in your community, but you want to be very respectful of the land and any physical boundaries. So, anything private property, bushwhacking, wandering off trail, if that's not allowed, just be respectful of those types of things, and not just be, wandering off into the woods if it's a place that isn't for you. And then don't visit places that are still in use by native tribes or protected by for their use exclusively or specifically. So anything that maybe has been a source of legal battles or is specifically protected for an Indigenous community, respect those boundaries if that's not, if it doesn't belong to your culture. So, and then find a way to contribute to the community and give thanks for the ability to work with the land. I usually find a good rule of thumb is if it's open to the public, then it is welcome for you to visit. And some of those places are still being used by Indigenous people in the area. So again, be respectful of anything, anything you may find that is a mark of, its ceremonial use in some other way if you're in a public place like that. So, and we want to do that, we want to approach a place with a specific intention, because when you do that, instead of saying, this is just where I go do my walk every day, it may still be the place you go for your walk every day, but when there are specific times you visit with a specific intention, you're signaling your intent to the energies that you want to connect with them on a deeper way. So, and I guess this relates to what I had on the previous slide, but if you are visiting a place that is in or near a traditional tribal community, find a way to contribute to that community. So it can be just stopping for lunch at a local restaurant, visiting a museum so you can learn more about kind of the history and culture of the area. You can buy something from a local shop. It's really about your intention when you do this, and not specifically about how much time or money you're spending in a place, but share your gratitude that that place has been tended and preserved and is still available for you to visit and connect with in that way. So let's talk about tips for finding a sacred place, because there's all kinds of different ways you can explore this. So first of all, in your community, research smaller parks, trails, nature preserves, and interpretive walks. Oftentimes, they aren't necessarily well-known places or marked as being used as such, as a sacred place in the past. But if there are places like that in your community, start there, because you can get a feel for the energy of like, how does this place feel to me in a place that is known and has been preserved as a spot where, you know, specific work with the energies were done. You can also ask in meditation, just set your intention and ask that you'd like to get to know a special place nearby, and then start looking for signs, you know, in your daily life. So, you know, articles that come to you online, a word that keeps repeating. And then you can research different trails and public parks. And obviously larger things like national parks are really obvious, but lots of times there's places, sacred places that have been preserved and are available to the public, but with very little historical information attached, like maybe one sentence on a, you know, directional sign somewhere. And so you can always Google the name of the place plus history to see if you can find articles or more information about maybe when a park was originally established, like why did that place get selected? And spend some time on Google Maps or Google Earth. I do this a lot where I'll just kind of, I'll put it in satellite view and I'll start with my house and I'll just kind of like zoom out further and further slowly. And I'll be like, oh, there's a lake there. I didn't know that was there. Where is that? You know, and I'll start kind of like looking at it closer, or, you know, a specific trail or a mountain or that type of thing. So you can kind of just scan around on your computer without, you know, going out and then going out and exploring some of these places and see if you can find them. Another fun thing that I started doing this summer is looking at geocache maps. And so if you're not familiar with geocaching, it's just people around the world who hide little boxes, trinkets, containers for people to find. And they put the locations in a geocaching app for people to find. But oftentimes they're putting them in locations that are very special or unique to them that they've discovered. And they're in places that might surprise you. So it can kind of be like a fun way to explore your community and find places that you wouldn't have otherwise known about. So those are some of my good tips for finding a sacred place. And that's how I found Crouse Basin. So I visited Crouse Basin a couple of times last year, but that was the place when I originally put this together, the sacred places together earlier this year, that wanted to work with me. And it was a place that I just happened to see a mention of it online somewhere about an old growth section of forest that had an interpretive walk in it. And it was preserved when everything else was logged in the area. Someone had the foresight to say, let's set, you know, a section of this aside. And I was blown away when you're driving up the side of a mountain, you're in the forest, but the energy, the quality of the energy completely changes right when you get to the old growth trees. It's really remarkable. And so there were lots of special energies there, even though, you know, it's just a little quarter-mile loop through the trees. It's a pretty special spot. So first of all, you just want to do your research and have a plan, take your time learning about what you can about the place, and just make sure it's a place that's appropriate for you to be there. So in the chat, wherever you are on Facebook or Zoom, you can let me know if there's something specific you want to do or research before you visit the place that's on your mind, if you have a place on your mind. And yes, Jade, to the question on Facebook, this is being recorded and I'll email it out to you guys. It takes a little time with my slow Wi-Fi to upload to YouTube afterwards, but it'll probably be a couple hours. I'll have it out. So, okay, we will continue on. So key number 2 is to have an intention for your visit. So you want to pack any appropriate tools or items for your visit, have an item that signals your visit or your energy signal, like something, or an energy signature. So an item that you bring with you every time that kind of says, this is me and I'm here specifically to work with the energies present in this area. And then, you know, really have an idea of what you might want to do while you're there. You can let it unfold because it's always unusual and unpredictable. But know kind of ahead of time if, oh, I'm going to go there to walk today. I'm going to create some artwork. I'm going to play music. Just kind of want to know so that you have the tools that you need beforehand. And then, when you get there, you can explore, wander around a little bit, find a spot to meditate, create art, play your instrument, do whatever it is that you're feeling called to do. And I always suggest to move slowly, as we were saying. Make note of things that are catching your attention, individual plants or trees or, unusual things that you might see. And then find a comfortable place to sit or lay down so that you can really relax and tune into the energy of that place. And then really just surrender to something larger than yourself and let the experience unfold. So, again, because we tend to move so quickly, when we slow down deliberately, we see more of our surroundings and we can really feel into the energy. The more time you can spend, the more your body will kind of come into alignment with that place. And that's a naturally healing feeling for us and experience. And so when we're kind of in that balanced place, more information can come through to us. So I suggest when you arrive and you get out of your car, you just want to take a moment to feel into the energy. So just stand in the parking area or at the trailhead before you just kind of go off into the area and just see, do you feel like you're being pulled in a certain direction? Is there a certain area you're being called to? Do you feel, if you have multiple options of which direction to go, does it feel like there's one direction you should go when you arrive? Just kind of take a few minutes and feel into that. And just notice if there's any visions or words, thoughts that pop into your head. And while you're paused there in that area, just ask permission to visit, and then set out or share an offering of thanks. I usually leave my selenite wand. I just have like a little selenite wand at the trailhead of this Kraus Basin that I visit all the time, but it's because nobody else is ever there. And so I feel comfortable leaving it, and then it's there when I come back. But obviously, depending on where you're working at, that might not be the place or not be the case. So kind of depends on what your offering is and what you want to do. And then just move very slowly as you explore. I keep saying I need to like make a spirit hiking hashtag or something. Like I can spend an hour on like a quarter-mile trail just because let it pull me in whatever direction it wants to. So just take your time and move slowly. And then, this idea of reading the land like a shaman, it's really noticing, kind of what's happening in that environment outside of you. So how are birds and other animals moving through and using the area? Is there a particular tree or flower that catches your attention because it's in abundance in this area? Or maybe there's just one unique plant or something that grows there that you think shouldn't grow there? Are there circles of trees or a particular tree that's radiating energy or calling to you? Just notice all of these things and really, start thinking in, what do they tell you about the, energy of this place? So you can ask in your head, is there something that you would like to share with me? And just see if there's anything that can help you tune into how the place might have been used or could be used now, what's happening. I carry, when I go out, I have this big waterproof, like foldable blanket with a strap. And so it like can just go over my head and my shoulder. And because oftentimes here in Montana, it's like there's snow on the ground, or it just rained, or it's wet, or whatever. And that I never have to worry about it. Wherever it is, I can just open up this waterproof blanket and I know I can get comfortable without getting wet or you know, getting cold. So that's, you might find something like that that you'd like. I also always bring a notebook and a pen with me because I think that I'm going to remember things and I don't. You really do kind of step into this liminal space when you get into some of these spaces, and you don't necessarily notice that you feel different or that you're receiving energy different until you get home. And then you're like, oh, I was kind of in a different space while I was there. And so I find it really helpful to record like things I'm noticing, you know, phrases or words that's coming through. Sometimes whole, you know, lots of information channels through. Sometimes it's just, you know, little bits and pieces. So you can spend as much time as you feel like connecting with the energy there. And, you know, when you're in that space of visiting in a deliberate way, you're allowing it to communicate with you in a different way. So look for all those little signs to come through. And those spirits will work with your intentions. So Crouse Basin, for example, is remote, but it's right alongside a road to a popular trailhead. So there's always cars, bikes, people camping in the immediate vicinity. But every time I'm there, I'm alone. Nobody ever comes onto the trail when I'm there. And so after a few times, I noticed that the spirits are kind of like putting a protective bubble over it so that we can work together when I'm there. And people will pull into the parking lot and then get right back in their car and leave. So, you know, set your intentions and let the spirits work with them. So you may see unusual shapes in the clouds. You might notice you're receiving messages from a rock or a tree. You might be overcome or filled with emotions. But it's also possible that you won't feel or notice anything out of the ordinary at all, which we'll talk about in a moment. So don't try and predict or control the experience. And, you know, even there's things that I'll think, oh, certainly this is what I'm going to be working with in that location, or certainly this will come through, and it won't. So you just kind of have to let it unfold as it will. So the takeaway for this key is to set an intention for your visit and allow the partnership with that place to unfold in the highest and best way. So remember that the deeper purpose of exploring nature in this way is to come into alignment with the earth. So, you know, the greatest power comes from surrendering to this thing that's larger than ourselves, and then allowing for the relationship to unfold in the highest and best way for you. So, oh, I see some notes in the comments and I will come back to those. So, okay, so you can tell me in the chat if you'd like. One new thing that you're going to do when you next go to one of these sacred places. And let me look at these comments. Okay, Catherine's question, I will come back to that one at the end. And then Liz is asking about a sacred spring that you can buy water from a filtered tap, but over this year it's become a construction zone. I think there's some land ownership battles. I've tried to do some research, but it seems sketchy. Right now it's all blocked off. I feel strongly a pull to work with this land. Yes, definitely. And you can work from it, work with it from a distance. So we'll come back to that, because that is, it gets tricky on those kinds of things where you realize, oh, they don't want me there right now. And Aubrey says, are some crystals better than others to work with the land? I know you've used amethyst and selenite, but other recommendations. That's very dependent on the specific land. And so I find that each place will let me know if there's a specific, especially if it's something like a crystal that needs to be left or buried there, they'll say that. Otherwise, it's kind of my own intuition as far as, and I don't have that big amethyst in here that I use, otherwise I'd show you, but like the amethyst that I've been working with has been showing me lately exactly how I can take it to a place and hold it and use it in a certain way. So it really is, it kind of unfolds as you go. So okay, I will come back to these other questions that are here. All right, so key number 3 is really to release your expectations, as we were just saying. Like, what if nothing happens? But the energies of the place and your own guides know exactly what you need. So sometimes it takes a little time for any kind of transformation to unfold and integrate. So just be patient. I know a lot of times we go somewhere and we just think like, you know, spirits are going to come and share with me a ceremony, or I'll receive a healing, or I'm going to see fairies, or everything, you know, all this magic is going to happen. And you're like, well, nothing, I just wandered around and nothing happened. I didn't feel anything. I didn't see anything. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes that even happens with a place you've already have a developed relationship with, and, you know, have gotten lots of information, and you go back one day and just nothing. But sometimes the transformation will happen after the fact. And you know, you'll have an energetic shift, or they'll work on your energy while you're there, and you won't realize it until after you really kind of go back home and let it unfold over time. So so be patient while that's while things are unfolding. You may get a piece of a puzzle, you may get a bit of advice while you're physically there, but when you get back into your life and events begin to align as a result of your visit, you'll notice it over time. Like, oh, all of these things started happening after I started going and visiting this place on a regular basis. So, you know, often the transformation comes over days or weeks or months afterwards, and after consistently working with a place for some period of time. So you'll be surprised sometimes at how some of these things are working through you in unexpected ways. And then I always suggest to take notes, because as I said, we think we'll remember, but we won't, we'll forget. So make a note of the things you saw, ideas that popped into your head, feelings that came to you while you were there. And then as little things come to you in days and weeks after your visit, you can continue adding additional notes, you can connect the dots. You'll start really seeing kind of a bigger picture come together, and have some of those aha moments about that's what they were trying to tell me, or that's what they were trying to show me. And then keep visiting and developing a relationship. I suggest that you make time to visit a place that you want to work with at least once a week for a month to see what unfolds. And really, like, an hour is plenty of time. It's more often than than these energies see a human visiting, almost exclusively. You know, 1 hour a week in a dedicated kind of deliberate way with an intention to connect is more than most people are doing, and they'll get really excited, and more will unfold as they continue to see you. So they'll begin to trust you, they'll begin to share with you, and then really experiment with creating. So art, singing, meditation, making music, whatever you feel called to do, especially if you feel called to do it there. That's those energies kind of channeling and working through you, and you might be really surprised at what comes out, or what they want to show you through art, or through photography, or through music. And you know, Kraus Basin, that I love to visit all the time, they love to tell me stories. I have pages and pages. I don't even know what to do with them. I probably have to like put it all into a big blog post sometime. But you know, they'll tell me like full and complete you know, like once upon a time stories. It's really kind of a remarkable experience. So the takeaway for key number 3 is just to release your expectations. So you may have a transcendent experience when you first visit, and you may not. So be patient, let the story unfold, and yeah, you can let me know in the chat. You can keep putting your questions in there as well. I see more coming in. What are you most excited to do and try on your next visit to a sacred place? And of course, there is so much more to this if you'd like to go deeper. These are my 3 keys to start working with these places in nature. But obviously we are just barely scratching the surface of everything you can learn, everything you can do. And it's more than I can, share in this hour of time. And obviously I want to respect your time and your interest level. So I would like to share more details with you about how we can dive deeper and do this work together. So I'm going to share with you a bit about the Earth Tenders Academy and the Sacred Places course. If you're already in it or you're not interested, totally cool to hop off and go on with your day. But I would like to be able to share a bit about it with you, and then I will stay on to answer as many questions as you all have when we get to the end. So the Earth Tenders Academy, if you're not familiar, is an online course that I've created for light workers and starseeds, which if you are here, you are. And it will help you really learn how to confidently communicate with these spirits of the land. You'll learn to work with earth energies, respectfully offer your healing work to the land. And really through the course, you'll learn to connect with nature spirits and the ancestors on a much deeper level. And that really helps you to understand the energetic forces on play at a land, why something feels a certain way, or why the energies are the way they are in a given area. So you'll really dive into getting to know the place that you live, how you belong there, so that you can ultimately have a positive impact on the energy in your home and in your wider community. So you'll also learn to offer your unique gifts in service to the earth, so you can provide healing energy anywhere in the world it's needed, including, like we say, doing things remotely oftentimes. So this course I think is really unique because, we've often been told that working with the energy of the land is like a special gift that only certain people have. But really, until recent generations, connecting with the spirits of the land was something just people did every day. So the Earth Tenders Academy will reconnect you with that deep wisdom you already have in your body. You have the knowing, you have the remembering from other lives, from your ancestors. It's there, the wisdom is within you. And really, this is just meant to unlock that wisdom that you already hold. So in the course, there are 18 video lessons. They're broken down into 3 kind of larger categories. The first one really is to help you understand how to work in liminal space with spirit. That's under Activate Your Light Body. Then in Calibrate Your Compass, you're really getting to know the place you live and the spirits. And in Dream a New World, it's really kind of, again, these bigger esoteric ideas. How does the multiverse work? But also how to do healing work with the land specifically. So you'll start understanding the messages you're already receiving and learn to work in your own way that feels most comfortable to you with the spirits of the land, because we've all done this work before. We just have to kind of remember the little sparks that turn things back on for us. So these are just some comments from some of the students in the Earth Tenders Academy after working through their first couple of weeks and really starting to kind of follow those cues, follow the information, and see what happened. And I liked Carrie's tree friend in her backyard told her name was Cher. That was kind of cool. The trees are always excited to meet with us. Also in the course is 13 guided meditations and shamanic journeys. I channeled them specifically for the course. And it's really taking that kind of just learning and knowing and understanding into experiencing. And so you get to experience the lessons from the course through your own senses and through your own experiences. And through that, you'll connect with your own guides and you'll receive your messages that are unique for you. And so here's some of the students who have just shared things about the guided meditations that we've done in the course. I think Melissa's comment is really common for most people, are really nervous about crossing over earthbound spirits. I think a lot of people are very nervous about doing that, but I actually walk you through how to do that in the course. And most people have that exact experience of like, I was nervous and then I did it and it was totally cool. and not scary at all. So I really kind of walk you through how to do some of these things in the guided meditations. Also in the course, we have 2 monthly live calls. So we get on Zoom twice a month. Once a month, we do a group property reading. And so that's where we actually practice these skills and get to compare notes with each other about what experiences we had while all tuned into the same piece of property. And the students say this is the #1 thing that helps them trust, because that's where we all get stuck, right? We think we got the information, but we're not totally sure. And so when you can say, this is what I saw, this is what I experienced, and and 3 other people say, I saw that too. Like, that's when you start realizing, like, you're not making this up. You know what you're doing, and you are receiving the information. So, and then we also have an office hours calls every month, and that's just an hour where you can drop in, ask questions, chit chat, hang out, talk to other people who are doing this work as well. And so just some feedback again from students who have participated in the live calls and really had a lot of things open up for them. We did an attunement earlier, I think it was maybe early in the summer, and Melissa actually started bringing through like some, I think she sings Reiki is what has started opening up for her. So she sings Reiki to the land, which is really, really cool. So these are some of the things, again, like, how to do this, it's in your body. It's just a matter of unlocking it and finding it, and it's unique to each person. So again, we have a supportive community. Once you're an earth tender, you're always an earth tender. So there are people from around the world who are in our Facebook community and doing this work. We'll get onto little projects that we'll work on as in small groups. You can ask questions there. I'm always kind of doing special things just for people in Earth Tenders Academy. So all those invites are a part of the community. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen this map. It's like a bunch of us have kind of been interested in it and we work on it, and then we don't work on it, and then we work on it, and it keeps coming back up. So, I believe we're all part of, one big soul group, those of us who are being called to do this work. And it's a way for us to reconnect and remember the work we are supposed to do here. And so when we have this community, it's easier to be able to connect with each other. You'll have lifetime access to all of the materials in the course. It's not a timed, the week by week experience, specifically because I've come to see that, really our spiritual path kind of happens on its own timeline. And so sometimes people will work through a few weeks or a few modules and then get to a point where they either need to integrate the information or spend more time with it, go deeper before they're ready to move to the next one. So there's never a rush or a timeline, or you feel like you're falling behind. You just go at whatever pace is most comfortable for you. And again, just feedback from people who are like, I worked on it a little bit and then I had to take a break, or I needed to integrate, or some healing came up for me and I needed to work through that. And then I continued on with the course material. So also what you get when you join the course is a mini course with one of my mentors, Sarah Petruno, and it's a PDF about shamanic journeying, how to do it, and 2 guided meditations from her. So if you're totally new to shamanic journeying and shamanism, this is what helps you learn the basics. And this is her course is what I learned with, and she was generous enough to share it with all of you. So again, putting all of these things together that are included in here has a value of $4,400, but of course, don't worry, it does not cost that much. I want as many people, as I said at the beginning, doing this work as possible. I really see the transformation that can happen with the land and with people when they are working together in this way. So I keep the cost as affordable as possible while still being able to provide the support that's necessary so that you'll have success in learning all of these skills. So this is the opportunity to connect with nature, earth energies, your ancient earth honoring ancestors, really on a much deeper level. So just for this weekend, it is 20% off. So it is, the regular price of the Earth Tenders Academy is $444, but right now it is $355 and includes all the things that I just shared with you. And again, until Monday, the last day of the month, it is 20% off the price of the course And this whole new Sacred Places course that I just re-recorded all of the videos, and you'll get that as well. And what I think the difference is, you know, Earthtenders Academy is very much, you could do it from your house without ever going outside. There's lots of journeying and meditations and exploring, and certainly it's enhanced by going outside, but you could do the whole thing without doing it. Where with Sacred Places is really an immersion in being in a place outside. So there are weekly video lessons from me, along with checklists for kind of exercises and things that you can do in each place. But the magic really unfolds through Sacred Places in being in that place. So it's totally a unique experience between you, your guides, and the energies in that place. And that really is meant to be more of like a 4-week container where, you know, it's week 1, listen to the video, pick a day to go spend at least an hour in the place and see what unfolds. And then week 2, do the same thing, and doing it over 4 weeks. So there's 2 guided meditations in that, exercises to do each week, and a video lesson from me as well. So all of that for $355 through Monday, looking at my calendar. There's also a monthly payment plan for 4 monthly payments of $97. So I would absolutely love it if you decide to join me. I have taken all of the things I've learned over a decade and put it all in here to help you shorten your learning curve and kind of figure out how to do some of these things yourself. So your guides, of course, are here to support you once you decide to do this. They are on the other side of the veil, just waiting to jump in and do it with you, which is really fun to see how that all unfolds. So Tracy, who is actually one of the first students in the Earthtenders Academy, she said she almost didn't join because she just likes to kind of figure everything out on her own. And she didn't think she needed a community to work within, but that it was really enriching to make these connections with people all over the world, have a group to ask questions in, and really make these connections. So I would love it if you feel the call to join us and do this together. I can't wait to get started. I will join the link if you want to check it out oops, it'll let me copy it. Put it in both spots and we will do some Q&A. Oh, and I gotta stop my screen share. Come back here. All right. Thank you, everybody who is here. And if you're on Facebook and you have questions, just put your questions in the comments and I will come back to these questions on Zoom. Take a sip here. Okay, hopefully, I think all of the earlier chat was about where you were all located. So Catherine says, my place usually answers many of my questions, but how do I find what its purpose or main message is? Also, it has a pond and piles of large stones. Could it have been a burial site? So, I mean, you can ask directly, you know, can you show me, you know, if there's something specific, you have a specific purpose here. Again, you might let it kind of unfold in pieces. I also find that sometimes it's unique to you. So your energy and the energy of these places, and I talk about this in the course quite a bit, the 2 kind of energies come together and it's a key and a lock. And so the more you're there, the more your consciousness is shifting and the more they can kind of show you specifically. And that's been my experience with places. Sometimes there are, you know, inherent qualities of the place itself, but then when you're there, it can work with you, with your specific gifts or your specific, you know, its specific needs that you can fulfill, if that makes sense. So if it's not something that's really obvious, like, oh, this is a hot spring, it probably has healing qualities, you know. So a pond and piles of large stone, I mean, it certainly could have been a burial site. I would say if you can do some research online and just see If the space has a name or a way that, you know, it has been recorded, sometimes you have to, this is where you got to go like 4 and 5 page search pages deep until you find like an obscure blog or a newspaper article from, you know, 30 years ago or something like that will make mention, or you kind of start putting pieces together. You know, there's one piece of information here and another there, and you can start drawing conclusions. So it is a little bit of a treasure hunt sometimes to put all the pieces together and start figuring it out. So Liz says there's a sacred spring, Pocahontas Spring, nearby my house that you can buy water from a filtered tap. But oh, this is the one we were talking about. But over this year, it's been essentially a construction zone and some land ownership battles. I've tried to do some research, but it seems sketchy. Right now, it's all blocked off. Yes. So you can do a couple of things. You can go visit as close as you can get to it if it's in the kind of place where maybe there's natural areas around what's blocked off, and you can just tune into that energy. But you could also do it from home. You can really just kind of, you know, imagine being in that place and imagine those energies and ask, especially with a spring, there may be a specific guardian for the water for that spring. And if there's a lot of construction going on, there may also right now be some confusion amongst the energies, especially with how they've been using it. I actually did a property reading a few weeks ago for a piece of land that had a spring on it, and it wasn't disturbed, but it was something I hadn't seen before. And it was, this spring was being used by elementals in like a wide, like miles in every direction. So it was special and sacred to these energies and they were traveling from all over to collect the water, collect the energy to work with this specific spring. So it's possible that something has been disrupted through the construction in that case, and they may ask if you can share some energy or some healing work with them. Or if nothing else, sometimes it's helpful just to explain what's happening to the extent that you know what's happening. So, but definitely if you're feeling a strong pull to work with it, just tune in remotely or get as close as you can. And if you can kind of get in the area, you might be able to like leave offerings or like make a little nature altar nearby, but you know, dedicate it in service of that spring and then be leaving offerings. So there's kind of ways you can get creative about working with a spot you can't quite get to. So yeah, Aubrey, we talked about the crystals a little bit. Liz says there's a trail about a mile away that is watery, and I've always felt it when it was an extension of the spring energetically. I walked through before and the birch trees were strongly signaling me. Okay, this is the same question about the sacred spring. So there is, yeah, so there's another spot you can get to, and it might be well, I don't know if it's after the spring, extension of the spring, could be before or after the spring. But that might be a spot where you could go and leave offerings and really connect with the energies of that water. So Celeste says, living in Richmond, Virginia, historical region, and have a lot of things to address with land and spirits on the land. It's overwhelming. Any suggestions to flow through this a little better? Yeah, so I mean, that is what we work through in the Earth Tenders Academy, kind of beginning to end, if you feel called to that, just because it's really peeling back the layers. Because as you're saying, there's sometimes it takes some time to figure out what exactly is going on. Like you're feeling all these different things, but when you really start tuning into it, you're like, okay, well, this is related to this thing, and this is related to this thing, and they happened at totally different times, but the energy is now layered on top of each other. So it is sometimes a matter of doing some research, learning kind of the stories of what's happened in that area, but then really tuning in, and you can kind of work your way out, starting with like, what's happening right where I live? Okay, what's happening with this, you know, wider area? Okay, how about the whole big area? So, so it is a process for sure. Yeah. Okay, Catherine says, I found you need to be careful with taking photos. If one gets too aggressive, they may leave. Yeah, depends on the place and the energy. Some will invite you to take photos, but for instance, Kraus Basin that I love to work with, they don't even want my phone like in my pocket. They've in the car and turned off. So not even airplane mode, no devices. On occasion, they'll say, oh, you can walk around and take a couple pictures and then turn your phone off and put it back in the car before you engage with us. So it kind of depends on the energies there. You know, that place for me, there's a lot of Bigfoot energy. Bigfoot does not, they don't like technology for the most part. It's very disruptive to them. And so that's part of why they don't want it. So it is true that you may have a different experience if you leave your phone or your camera in the car. It's a good experiment. Yeah, Maurice is trying to separate this from just walking that I do. Yeah, and you can absolutely do both things. It could be a place you visit all the time and walk through, but then have some time you set aside to intentionally connect. So, and yeah, Groovy Sarah, I just joined this morning. Yay, I was so excited to see your name come across my email as well. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm excited to see what unfolds for you. So yes, and thank you, Melanie, says she loves the course. Thank you, thank you. Let's see, do we have, there's a few notes on. I'll get to Facebook in 1 second. Let's see, Marie says, I've stayed away from battle site due to the feelings I pick up. How long will it take for the sites to be cleared of difficult energy? Okay, so a couple of things. I mean, the energy is gonna be there until really like somebody works with it to shift and transmute and whatnot. So if you have the opportunity to do that, like it's good for everyone, because you realize how many people are feeling that energy, and especially if they live close to it, they're feeling it every single day. And so it really is kind of like a public service to, you know, do some of this work and clear some of this energy. But also recognize if it feels physically difficult for you, probably a very empathic person. And so you are feeling like, oftentimes that's what the energies are doing to show you, like, this is what happened, this is a problem, this is how we feel, or this is what happened. And so it's not necessarily like a negative thing, more so that they're signaling to you that this energy is present. And so depending on what you're doing, if it's something that's really disruptive to you, like all the time, and really, you know, you can kind of put your own protective bubble up and just say, you know, I got the message, I understand, I'm feeling it, but I can't feel it all the time. it's too much. And so, you know, respect this boundary, and I'll let you know when I'm ready to work with you. And so then you can kind of set specific times, like, all right, I'm going to come out here once a week and I'm going to work with this energy. And so over time, you will probably feel it shifting the more you're able to do. I mean, sometimes you can work with a place one time and go, oh, wow, like that, it feels totally different. And so it just kind of depends, you know, what's there, what's been there, you know, what other energies are tending it. So Catherine says, what are good offerings? I leave corn for water, birds, etc., but there might be something else. Yes. I mean, it's the only limit is your imagination. The only thing I always say is be conscious of where you are as far as what appropriate offerings are. Like here in the woods in Montana, I wouldn't leave birdseed out in the summertime because it's a bear attractant. So just, you know, be conscious of those types of things that might be either unhealthy for wildlife or inappropriate, you know, in a public space. National parks, for instance, you're not supposed to pick or move, you know, like they don't want you to pick a flower and leave it as an offering. So be conscious of kind of your surroundings and where you are. But sometimes I'll get somewhere and think, oh, I didn't bring anything, or I wasn't expecting to have like an experience or whatnot, like I want to leave an offering. You can pour some water out of your water bottle. You can leave a strand of your hair, and that's your DNA. And so you're really kind of like exchanging kind of information with the area like that. Certainly cornmeal, tobacco, or like common types of offerings. Sometimes I'll say I offer the next rainfall to this location. So whenever it next rains is an offering. So you really can use your imagination and not worry about, oh, I just went somewhere and I forgot to bring an offering with me. So yeah, Tara says the same thing. I keep forgetting to bring. Yeah, Reiki. Perfect. Yeah, Reiki is absolutely just sharing your energy with a place. I usually have my little singing bowl with me, and so I can, you know, play that as an offering. So lots and lots of options. Liz says, thank you. You confirmed some of my thoughts about the spring, and I'll start visiting as close to possible to work with the spirits and introduce myself to the guardian. That was terrific advice. Thanks again. Thank you, Liz. Thanks for being here. Yeah, more about the camera being a great topic. Yeah, sometimes you can have your camera, sometimes it's better not to. So definitely just follow either your instincts, or if you're specifically receiving messages, or just, you know, experiment with one way and then the other. So yeah, Celeste just sent me a note saying thank you, Celeste, and I hope I get to see you when you do make your way out here. Lots of thank yous. Groovy says, Tara, I sense your Reiki is a wonderful offering. It's your energy. Yeah, absolutely. And wonderful. Sarah, thank you. So she's very interested in earth tenders and will be a student soon. Very exciting. Thank you, everybody, for coming and spending time. I know we ran just a little bit long, but I'm so excited that you all took some time to join me today. I can't wait to see what places you explore. Feel free to share in the Facebook group anything that you discover. Obviously, if the Earth Tenders Academy is calling to you, this weekend is a wonderful time to join, because 20% off and the Sacred Places course. If you are already in the Earth Tenders Academy, I'm just going to be giving you the Sacred Places course. So look for an email for that over the next day or so. And you're welcome. Everybody who's saying thank you. I am excited that you joined me, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And I'll see you on social media and in your email. Bye, everybody.